my parents came from my parents came from another country. They came from Mexico back in probably like the 90s around there. High school sweethearts, came over here, U.S., to live the life in America. So growing up, naturally, I didn't have things that a lot of other kids had. Kids had Vans and Jordans and all that, and I was running with the shoes from the swap meet, some off-brand, super, bad type shoes. So it was rough, man, growing up. But my parents, especially my dad, they they busted their behind for sure to get me to where I'm at today. It's been a rough journey. The thing that I remember most about my dad was actually the fact that he worked so much. I he was home on weekends and days off occasionally. Sometimes we went on like a little trip like to Knott's Berry Farm or something when we can afford it. But it was never like, oh, I'm gonna come home and see my dad every day. He worked graveyards or whatever the case might be, working 2-3 jobs at a time. Making sure my mom was taken care of. We had as best as he could provide us. So I mean, it's been a crazy thing, and I noticed that coming into adulthood. I mean, I'm not even that old, but coming into adulthood and noticing everything that goes on in being an adult, whether that's paying bills, fixing your car, making food, whatever the case may be. I notice that nowadays I speak to other people and there's so much, they're not as well equipped as I am per se. I'm not saying that I'm, the greatest guy ever or anything, but, I talk to a lot of people where I work because I'm the youngest guy where I work, telling them, oh, I have to fix this on my car, I have to change the brakes or whatever the case may be. And they're telling me, oh, you know how to do that? I'm like, yeah, my dad taught me how to do that. A lot of them say, oh, I didn't have a dad to teach me how to do that, or, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have this or that. So coming into adulthood, living on my own for almost a year now, it's been crazy having to experience all of these things. The thing that shocked my family the most and where I really, really, really saw the disparity and the cruelty of the world is actually when my dad lost the house in 2008 because of the recession that happened. My dad had a really, really good paying job back early 2000s. He had a mortgage and 2 car payments, with the stay-at-home wife, and at that point it was still 3 kids. It wasn't 4 yet. And, it was easy. Everything was fantastic. It was the ideal, family, going to church, coming back. Where do you want to eat? We can do this, we can do that. Let's go on vacation. It was essentially the life that everybody wanted to live. Recession happened. My dad lost his job. He was trying to pick up side gigs here and there. I couldn't pay the mortgage. We lost the house. And that's when I really, really saw, and even to this day, like, it kind of gets me a bit emotional to think about. But at that point in time, I really, really saw my dad in a heavy state. My mom, she was stressing out. I could tell my mom like stayed up crying and stuff because we couldn't figure out how to make ends meet. We had to go to school, gas, whatever the case may be. That's when I really, really saw how bad the world is and how much they don't care about you. And sometimes I'd be helping my dad. We have to fix this on the car, so we're like, okay, I don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it, but let's figure it out together. And I feel like that's one thing that I'm super, super grateful for, is the fact that even though, my family, we lost our house, my dad, busted his behind working 2-3 jobs at a time, working these horrible, horrible graveyard hours, commuting up and down the pass for, I think, like 5 or 6 years, working 2:30 a.m. to, I think, 3 p.m. and coming back home, being exhausted, didn't want to eat, you just wanted to sleep. And then you have my mom, you have all of us. It was just so much. And, my mom's a real trooper too. She throughout everything, no matter the arguments my parents had, whatever the case may be, my mom she stuck with it with my dad. She picked up a job, a full-time job to help pay for bills. And at that point, she was still helping us. We had to help out a lot too. We had to cook, we had to clean, we had to make sure the dog was taken care of. We had to make sure our homework was done. We essentially had to almost take care of ourselves. Throughout all that time, living in a really, really bad, a bad neighborhood, living in that apartment, my brothers and I, we had to step up, and me and my brother, we got a job at 14 years old. My brother was 15, I was 14. We had to do trash outs and stuff for some apartment complexes, and I learned what it was to go to work after you don't want to do anything, after you're exhausted, after all this other stuff that you don't want to deal with. Getting up, on a regular Saturday morning when, kids normally get up, watch cartoons. My brother and I, we got up like, all right, we're going to go to work. We did whatever we had to do, came back 3, 4, 5, 6 hours later, just for maybe like $200-$300, whatever we could get. And that was enough to pay for, sometimes we bought shoes for school. Sometimes we bought like uniforms or whatever the case may be. And, all those little things that we didn't have because my family was so, I'm not going to say we were the most poor, but we definitely didn't have the money to live life in luxury. But despite everything that went on, would I go back and change it? I don't think so. Because now, as it stands right now, me being 21, almost 22, I have my own car that I maintain on my own. I do whatever maintenance I have to do on it. It'll be spark plugs, oil, whatever the case may be. My dad, he now owns a house that's almost worth $500,000, making pretty good money, more than 50 a year. My mom, she's still a stay-at-home mom. I graduated with my associates from college. My other brother's almost done with his bachelor's. My other brother, he's in trade school. My little sister's almost done with high school. I'm the only one who's moved out of my parents' house. But even now, living on my own, I can proudly say that I can go around and really talk to people and be like, oh, well, like what makes you so special? You're 21 years old, you're out here living by yourself. Not many 21-year-olds are out living by themselves, and it's all a matter of putting your mind to it, working out, having the self-discipline. My parents are really, really, really big. Thank you for that. My dad, I can honestly say right now that me being a 21-year-old, I look up to my dad almost like a superhero, because man, it was some of the craziest years that I can think of. The stress, the weight that my dad put on my mom, and every time I think back about it, man, it makes me so sad, the fact that we had to go through those kinds of things. But now, my parents always tell me one thing, that no matter what you do in life, no matter how hard you're struggling, you always got God by your side. You always got the man upstairs. You always have us. You always have family. You always have yourself, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to look after you better than your own family and your own self. That's what they taught me. And, they never let God go. No matter what happened, we were always going to church. We were always taking care of ourselves. And my dad would always say this whenever we go out to eat. He said, man, we don't have any money, but we eat like we're millionaires, because to us, we didn't have to go to the fancy restaurants. We'll go to Burger King, we'll go to McDonald's, all of us, sitting there eating chicken sandwiches or whatever, but we were together and we're having a great time. We were just laughing, telling jokes, telling stories. Do what you have to do to get through. I'm not saying do illegal things, but do what you have to do to get through. Because, life isn't easy. And if I can encourage one thing, is to push yourself and to really, really find that inner beast in you. And at the end of the day, you control that beast, and that beast will do nothing but help you, and you'll do nothing but help the people around you, especially your family.